Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Elena. Hi, Valoko. Hope everyone is doing really well. Just adding Nicole now. Oh, hi, Cherish Me UK.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm well. Been better. Just getting my hair in place.
Well, you know that I've been a hairdresser for 26 years.
I
So
saw.
so women always assume that I'm automatically looking at their hair, but I promise you, when you've been in hair for 26 years, it's actually the last thing you look
Your hair looks fabulous, by the
at.
way.
Thank you. Well, I've made an effort. This is the first time I've put makeup on in about 3 weeks. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to actually get some eyeliner on my eyes. It
I
feels
know my
good.
husband said, "You look different." I said, "Yeah, put on some makeup."
I know.
So really great to have you, Nicole.
Thank
Um,
you.
so as you know, it's really, really strange times we're living in right now.
I mean, no one's been here before, right? No, not one person on this entire planet has ever been here before. We're making history here. How could we ever? We've never been able to say that, right?
No.
Never.
And so I don't know if you know, but my family is just recovering from COVID,
Okay.
suspected COVID,
Okay.
because my husband works in as a doctor. And I have been home with the kids, quarantined for the past 2 weeks. But once somebody keeps going in, out, and coming back in, it's just inevitable that at some point you all catch it. So we're just recovering. We are just a week into recovery.
How are you feeling?
This is the first time I felt vaguely normal.
Yeah. 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 It takes time. We've had it as well. Me and my
Have
husband both
you?
had it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I would say it took a full 2 weeks for me to get
Yes.
back. And look, we had it really mildly in comparison to,
Yes.
we were lucky. We made a full recovery, but it does take
Yeah.
the energy levels and, and also your mentally and emotionally. It took me a full 2 weeks to get stabilized again.
You're proper drained, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do these well-being sessions is that the world is so filled with fear and anxiety right now, and people
Yeah.
are really scared
Yeah.
about catching this virus because all they're hearing is that the stories of people dying, but there are
Yeah.
people like you and I who have recovered.
Well, we're not going to make the news. I said this
No.
to my best friend who was having a meltdown a few days ago. I said, people like me are not going to make the news. I'm not interesting. I'm not reporter worthy. But there are,
Yes.
and also I haven't been tested officially, so I'm not going to be one of
Yes.
those people on the statistics, probably like yourself. So there are many, many of us. And actually, I think it's something really important that we need to talk about. That people
Yes, it
need to
is.
know that, yeah, I've had, and when I tell people I've had the virus, they are so shocked. They're like, oh my God, what was it like? There's a lot of scaremongering around. It was like having the flu. It was unpleasant, but it was fine. It was,
Yeah, yeah.
so, and I'm back to full health. I've still got a cough. I am, back to full energy, and I feel so much better in myself. So, thank you for talking to that, because I think that's really important.
Yes, it's important that we talk about it. I mean, I think it also depends on your immunity as well. So in terms of what people can do as they, not that you're waiting to catch COVID, but if it does happen, how can you prepare your body and your mind so you can deal with it, so your body can fight any infection that you have? Do you have anything to share around that?
Um, I would say, I would say stay as calm as you can. The one thing that I really experienced, which I would like to talk about, is the guilt of being ill, the guilt of not being able to get up and homeschool my children, or not
Mm.
having the energy to actually go and make food for our National Health Service, or to be of service and do the coaching that I love to do, to be of service in some way, which I'm so used to. I would say allow yourself to be sick, allow yourself to lay in bed, allow yourself to rest and sleep. And I think the more allowance, the more space that you give yourself, the better and the smoother the recovery, because you are out of it. You can't get out of bed. You feel pretty lousy, and you have to kind
Oh,
as women accept that actually we have to make space for being sick because we don't
and
do that
actually,
very well.
so if you're on this call now and you have any question for Nicole or myself, please feel free to type it, and then I will read some of the questions out. So thank you all so much for joining us. One of the things I want to touch on that you just mentioned, Nicole, is guilt. So moms, women,
Yeah.
are filled with guilt
Yeah.
for working, guilt for not working, guilt for homeschooling, guilt for not
But not
homeschooling,
homeschool.
guilt for being skinny, guilt for carrying a bit of extra weight. The guilt and the guilt and the guilt is everywhere. So how can we at least put a pause to this guilt?
I think we need to step into something else. And actually, I think guilt at the moment is part of the process. It is for me, it is for the people that I'm coaching and my girlfriends that I'm speaking to regularly. It is here. And I think the first thing we can say is, okay, it's here. Fine.
Yes.
So what can I do in order to take my mind off the guilt? Because we can't rid ourselves of guilt. I can't stop myself from feeling guilty that I'm up here and not downstairs with my children. And if I was downstairs with my children, I'd feel guilty for not being upstairs doing my work, right? So it's there regardless of what we're doing. That's part of the female experience. Sadly. I would say it's about stepping into your values, stepping into the things that feel important, that feel fulfilling, that feel nourishing, that feel helpful. Guilt is not always helpful.
It's a wasted emotion.
Like I say, it's a fake emotion.
Yes.
It's not real, is it? But actually being able to step into something that is self-serving, something that feels nourishing, and I use this word a lot, that is going to maybe subside the guilt for 5 minutes, practicing gratitude for 5 minutes. Okay, I feel guilty let's say I feel guilty that I'm up here talking to everybody right now because I'm not downstairs making dinner, because it's 7 p.m. I'm in the UK. I'm using this as an example, by the way. But actually, I'm not going to listen to that guilt because that's there anyway. And that's not helping me right now. Right now, I want to have a wonderful conversation with you, be able to serve your audience in some way and bring some value to this.
Value, exactly.
And this is part of my work and part of my passion. So that's what I'm going to tune into. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be present. I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to be proud that I get to have these conversations with people I've never met, and we get to connect one-on-one, face-to-face. That's what I'm going to tune into. And then what that does is it drowns the guilt out just for a bit.
Because one of the things also I have noticed about guilt as a working mom, people always say, why don't you feel guilty because you're traveling so much? Why don't you feel guilty because of this and that? So I don't really feel guilty because everything I'm doing is a choice. I make a choice to travel, to work. I know some people will say, well, actually, I don't feel I have the choice. But to a large extent, we all have some choice in what we decide to do.
Well, so I believe we have a choice in anything that we do. But that's a much bigger conversation, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I choose to be with my kids as I've chosen, then why am I feeling guilty about that? Because I have a choice and I've exercised that choice.
We've been conditioned to it, I believe. We've been conditioned to feel guilty because men don't feel guilty. My husband doesn't feel guilty when he goes upstairs to work and my kids are downstairs. He doesn't apologize for it. He doesn't make excuses for it. Women have been conditioned to feel guilty because it is not supposed to be our primary role to work. Our primary role is supposed to be to mother and to nurture and to cook and to clean. And so I think there's just a natural guilt that comes along with it. I would like to say, what with the women empowerment movement, that this guilt might subside, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, because do you know what's happening? In my opinion, we have women working and wanting to have homes and bodies and lifestyles that stay-at-home moms work, stay-at-home moms have, and
Yeah.
stay-at-home moms also want to have the bodies and the opportunities and the income that working moms have.
Yeah.
So it's all the could have, the should have. This is
Yeah.
what the ideal is, but who says what the ideal is? Like,
Well,
what is the ideal? You have to create your own ideal so you can be happy.
and really stand in it, stand in the ideal of what the ideal is for you. And actually, I think that is so relevant now in the middle of COVID-19, in the middle of lockdown, because I can go off on a tangent so quickly about what somebody else is doing, that somebody else is doing more work with their kids, or somebody else is doing more exercise than me, or somebody else is planting flowers in the garden and I'm not doing that. You know, whatever it is, I can look at that and think, I'm not doing enough. They're doing that. That means I am lacking somewhere. And it's rubbish. And it's so destructive. And it's something that we step into so quickly about where we are not doing enough or not being enough. We do it instantly, if you notice. And actually, there's many people that I've had to unfollow on Instagram because, and maybe I'll follow them after.
Speak to that. Yes.
Well, maybe I'll be able to.
Perfection.
It's rubbish. And all we see is a snapshot of what someone wants to show us. But when I was lying in bed sick with the coronavirus and I was watching all these people doing these amazing things and having loads of purpose in their life, and all I could do was, you know, sip my soup and get better, I was like, you're not doing enough. You're lacking. Your self-worth is on the line here because you are not fulfilling your purpose as a woman, as a mother, as an activist. And it all stems from comparison, right? So I've unfollowed people that were making me feel bad. Not, they weren't intentionally making me feel bad. And maybe I'll follow them again when all of this is over. But I have to be so boundaried. And I think we all have to be so boundaried with our self-care and with ourselves and in terms of what is working for us and what isn't. And staying very, very in tune to it and checking in with it all the time. Like, how do I feel right now? Do I feel a bit anxious? Yes, I do. What am I doing? Okay, I'm on Instagram. I'm looking at something that's making me feel bad. Come away from it. Like, you've got to protect yourselves because we are in uncertain times.
Yeah. And there's a question about staying positive and how do you stay positive? And I think part of that, sadly, I know we're on Instagram and we've asked you to log in at this time. But part of staying positive is putting this phone away. I mean, when this live is over, it's switching off and unplugging and going to do things that you can't do in your home. Because this phone doesn't make anybody healthier or happier. I've not heard one single person say, I wake up and I check my phone.
And I feel amazing.
Such a better person. It never happens.
No, but there is a lot of very helpful, supportive content online right now, which you can find. But what I would find supportive and helpful, and what you may find supportive and helpful, are completely different. So it's really tuning into what is helping you and what isn't. And I love what you said. It doesn't. You know, you pick up your phone after having a nice, good night's sleep, and instantly the noise has started.
It's downhill from there.
It's downhill from there. Downhill from there. You're right. You're right.
And you know, you've also said something I want to touch on, because there's so much good stuff out here now. So many people are giving free content, having live sessions, having all these content-driven ideas to help you, to make you stay more positive, and they are all fantastic.
Fantastic.
But again, the overwhelm, the noise, it doesn't help. So what I have done actually, and I don't know what your own practice is around this, is I have picked a topic that I want to get better at during this quarantine. And so a lot of the work I do is around leadership and developing leaders, female leaders, women and people from ethnic minority backgrounds to step up into leadership roles within large organizations. And so leadership is my thing. That's what I've chosen it to be. I'm not watching anything, listening to anything, engaging with any content that doesn't speak around that.
Amazing. Love that.
Because it's just a waste of time. I mean, it's a nice dress and a nice post, and it makes me feel good in the moment or bad in the moment, but it contributes to nothing that I'm trying to achieve.
I agree. And it's not helping you build yourself towards where you want to be in a year's time, 2 years time, 6 months time. I've recently released a podcast about this. actually.
Oh,
I
fabulous.
released it, funnily enough, I released it today. And it's called The Self-Care Club. The podcast called The Self-Care Club. And we talk about the bombardment of the online offering and how to get it under control.
Yeah,
Because I found it so overwhelming.
it is.
Yeah, it is. And I love what you've spoken to. Like, you've just set the things that you want to see, and actually anything outside of that right now is just noise and not helpful and becomes destructive. So goodbye. Love
So
that.
Carly has a question around constant comparison. How do you stop yourself from
Uh,
comparing to other people?
I think a couple of the things that we've just mentioned now, really notice when you're in comparison, and then remove yourself from certain accounts that might trigger that in you. If you're
Yeah.
doing it around certain friends, just don't speak to them that day. Speak to them in 3 days' time once you've got your head together. Get really boundaried about yourself and really aware of when it's triggered and when it isn't, and what you're doing when it's triggered, because then that will give you all the information of what you can possibly put away or where you can step away. Because comparing yourself to other people, especially through this time, is just nothing but, it's not going to bring anything good. It's just going to make you feel like total rubbish. So it's really important. I think it's boundaries, and it's awareness, I would
And
say.
one of the things I think, rather than comparison, one of the things we should be doing is being inspired by people.
Yeah.
So if you
Mm,
compare
mm.
yourself to somebody, it means that there's a competition, you're on the same journey and you're trying to outdo each other. And I think sometimes we women, we do a bit, we do a bit too much of that. I'm bigger than you, I'm taller than you,
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
husband is better than you, I have a
yeah,
bigger house than you. I mean,
yeah,
that is just comparison, it's competition, it's futile.
yeah,
It's one-upmanship, one-up womanship, and we don't need that. And I think what we need to do is look at someone and say, I love what that person is doing. I wonder how they're doing that. And I wonder what aspect of it I can take for my own life. Again, align to what you're trying to achieve. So
yeah,
one of the things we can do, and I have been doing this, I think, for a few years now, is to really reflect on what I want to achieve. Because when I'm clear on that, I can see somebody and say, wow, I love your hair, but
yeah,
that's not me.
yeah,
Or, well, I love your hair. Where did
yeah,
you get it done?
yeah,
How does it look like that? You
yeah. I
know?
love
And
that.
so once you don't do that internal work, all the chatter gets to you because you're constantly seeing something and thinking it's better than you, but it's different. It's not better. And we
It's
need to
different.
own ourselves so we can look at other people and say, that's beautiful, but that's absolutely amazing for her.
Yeah. Well, of course, and that comes from such a healthy, self-loving place, doesn't it? To be able to say, actually, I love your hair, and that's not going to make me feel bad about myself. That's just very different to how I wear my hair. I think,
Yes.
but it's having that awareness first to know that that might be a trigger for you, and then spinning it on its head and putting a nicer perspective on it, or staying very boundaried around
Yes.
it. And you're right. I think a lot of comparison happens, actually. I think that's a really interesting point you've made. A lot of comparison happens when you're in the same sort of place as somebody. But
Yes.
actually, like, I was just watching Oprah with Jamie Oliver cooking, like, and I just find her totally inspiring because obviously it's Oprah.
Oh,
So
it's
I'm never
Oprah.
I'm never going to compare myself to Oprah. I don't have a comparison issue with Oprah, right?
No.
She's just inspiring. And I think that is such a solid point that you've made. Thank you. I'm going to take that away with me. So rather than stepping into comparison, step into inspiration and move to the people that inspire you rather than trigger the comparison. I think that's brilliant.
So there's an issue we are all coping with. And I think when I went to your page, I read the feature you had on Glamour, and you
Yes.
talked about your own journey with food.
Yes, I did.
And in this lockdown,
Yes.
we have food everywhere.
You know, I started the lockdown in that very similar pattern of, right, I've got to watch what I eat, and I've got to watch my weight, and I've got to be doing, and I can't eat this, and that's right, and that's wrong. And that same old chatter that we have around food, that all women have around food. And how many of your friends have turned around to you and said to you, oh, I've put on so much weight? And I turned around to one of my friends the other day and I said to her, she said, my thighs are so big. I said, firstly, I know that it's a big thing that your thighs are big and that makes you feel bad about yourself. And I'm not suggesting just go and binge and carry on eating, because that is not going to help you feel good about yourself. I said, but your body is in a state of shock. Your mind is in a state of shock. We are all living in uncertain times that we have never been here before. We don't know how to do this. And every woman's default mode is to start watching her weight. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. And actually, if your thighs are bigger, perhaps it's because your body needs to be a little bit bigger now so that you can be healthier, that you can hold yourself better, you can heal better, even if that's physically from the coronavirus or that's mentally from any issues that you might be like stress and anxiety,
Yeah.
or emotionally from the fear that you're currently experiencing on a daily basis. If you are holding an extra 3-4 pounds right about now, it's okay. The world is not going to change. The world is changing rapidly as it is. And I will say to every woman, and I know how hard it is to cope with that excess weight. I'm carrying it myself right about now.
Fabulous.
And it never makes me feel good about myself. But what I've done is I've put it in its place. Like, I cannot live in a state of tension and anxiety and stress because of what's happening globally right now. So that's happening anyway. I then cannot put the extra pressure on myself to not eat that chocolate bar, to not eat that piece of bread because that's somehow wrong. Like, do what feels kind. And if feeling kind is choosing an apple over a piece of toast, then so be it. But if feeling kind in that moment is having a piece of cake with your children who are also having a stressful day, then by all means, that's what kindness looks like in that moment.
And I also love what you said on that article about you wanted to reach this weight. Was it 55 kgs?
55 kilos, yeah.
And you got there, you're like, is this it?
Yeah.
And a lot of life is like that. We aspire to do all these things. And actually what I have found now with being forced to stay at home and not shopping, not going out, not distracting myself with all the other things we tend to distract ourselves by, is to really realize what's really important. And it's not a new shoe and a new bag and a new exotic holiday location that you go to.
I know. It's not the stuff.
It's not the stuff. It's not the stuff.
But I think that's why this is happening. And to get on a slightly deeper level for a moment, if you will forgive me, I think collectively the universe has turned around and said, enough. I've given you warnings. You have not listened. There have been numerous. I've been talking to you for ages. You are ruining the earth. You are ruining nature. You are ruining yourselves. You are disconnected. So I'm going to have to put a stop to everything and make you all reassess actually what the true meaning of life is, what is truly important, what we truly need. When I go out for a walk first thing in the morning, the air feels cleaner. I don't know, the birds seem to sing a little bit louder and the energy feels a lot calmer. And I think that's what we, not just what nature needed, but what we as a human race absolutely needed. We needed this to happen so that we get back in touch with what drives us and fulfills us. Yeah.
So let's talk to the singles who have joined us. So there's some people who are saying it's just me stuck at home on my own for weeks.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's the isolation, there's the loneliness. So anybody on this call now who may just be living on their own at this time, do you have any strategies for them to cope better with the loneliness and isolation?
I would say, of course, stay in touch with your friends and family as much as you can. Stay connected. And I think that when we feel lonely and we feel isolated, we can tend to withdraw as well. So I would say try and fight that. Try and reach out to somebody and say, actually, I feel lonely today. What can you please, can we just have a chat? And just really own it, own how you're feeling, and be very aware of how you're feeling. I read something in this article yesterday. If we can name it, we can manage it. Ooh. So I know, isn't that beautiful? I wish I could pass that off as mine, but it wasn't mine. So just to be able to name what is going on for you, to whatever you're experiencing in that moment, and then reach out to somebody and say, actually, this is what I need. I need you to check in with me 3 times a week. Can you do that? But it's very hard as human beings to turn around and say, I feel lonely, and to feel comfortable saying that. But I think in these times, it's so important to show your vulnerability, to ask for help. You know, when we were sick with the coronavirus and my neighbors were offering me help, normally my first port of call when someone wants to offer me help is, no, it's
No,
fine, don't worry
I
about it.
know.
And I
was
actually
like,
turned around. I actually turned around to a neighbor and I said, I'm going to have to say yes. Thank
yes.
you. I really need your help. Thank you. It's so uncomfortable for me. And I know that for those people that are living alone, it is so uncomfortable to be able to reach out to somebody they love and say, this is what I need so that I can cope a little bit better. But I would say choose that person carefully. Choose the person who deserves to hear it and deserves your vulnerability, and stay as connected as you possibly can.
Yeah. So I come from a huge family. I have boatloads of families.
Lovely.
And I
Lovely.
have a sibling for every day of the week. So I'm very fortunate and I feel so grateful now that I don't need a reason to call my sisters. I can just pick up the phone and say, look, I'm feeling a bit out. Do you have anything funny to say? Or I just want to
Yeah.
see your face. And then
Yeah.
they'll just FaceTime me.
Yeah.
And so I have that, but I recognize that a lot of people don't have those relationships. So we're used to having relationships, but not really deep relationships where you can just ask for help, like you said. You know, we all have these boundaries because we've become so self-sufficient
Yes.
as a society, and we don't need people. I don't need you. I can earn my own money. I can look after myself. I go to the hospital. I don't need you. But it's now transpired that we
But we
all
do.
need each other.
We do.
And so I think this is a real great time to just try and invest in those relationships and people around you. So you don't need a reason to call them. You know, you don't need to
Yeah.
have a proper reason to call someone. It can just be what once you go, no, I just want to hang on for a bit more because when I go off the phone, I have nothing else to do. I mean, I
Yeah,
had a
but
call with
that takes so much bravery, doesn't it? To be able to admit and say, I'm lonely and I don't want to get off this call because I've then got nothing else to do. Like that is such an act of bravery, isn't it? And so
you have to do it.
You have to do it. So what I would invite the people that are listening on here to do, that are living on their own, is to just reach out to somebody, decide what it is that you need from this person, and reach out to them and ask them if they can give that to you. I mean, that is the most brave, vulnerable thing that you will do probably for the week. But God, what a transformative practice to make for yourself. And it's a beautiful gift to give to yourself and to that person. Because if someone called me up and said, would you check in with me 3 times a week because I'm lonely and actually you're the person that I want to call me? I'd be like,
oh my God.
You'd be so moved, wouldn't you? You'd be so touched and so moved and honored. So it's a gift. They'd be giving a gift to somebody else too.
Yeah. So I think we try and keep this very short, and yeah, we've almost run out of time now. I'm trying to see if there's any new questions.
There was one question at the top which I would really like to answer, if that's okay, because someone asked, how do you always stay positive?
Yes.
Because they were really struggling with it. And the answer is, well, I will speak for me, and I'm sure you have your answer. I don't always stay positive. And especially in times like this, I am anxious, I am annoyed, I'm irritated a lot of the time. I am peaceful, calm. Like I am going through a whole roller coaster of emotions on a daily, sometimes hourly basis. And that's okay. And I think going back to the, if we can name it, we can manage it piece, that actually just really stay in touch with whatever it is that you need in that moment. So if you're feeling stressed, allow yourself to feel stressed. If you're feeling irritated, allow yourself to feel irritated. Like, we have never been here before. No one knows how to do this. So I would say just be kind, be compassionate, and just allow yourself to feel whatever it is you feel.
Yeah, that's true. So I think I also have a similar approach. So probably twofold. I try and be grateful because, you know, in this quarantine, I am home and I get to be with my husband and my kids. We have a nice house, you know, we have heating and water, and, you know, so I try and focus on the things that I have. And I think that takes away from what is lacking.
Lovely.
If you can do that as often as you can. I know it's everyone on the internet about gratitude, but it really, really does anchor you. The moment.
It does.
I grew up in Ghana. I've seen people who are very poor, and so that may also be influencing a lot of my views. So I've seen people very wealthy, and I've seen people very poor.
Yeah.
So there's no point really. If I can go out tonight, it's not like it's forever. I can try and trick my mind into thinking that things will change. But the other thing I also do, I think Tony Robbins said, where energy goes, focus flows. So I also try and just do really fun things. So right now I've discovered some comedies on Netflix.
Oh, go on.
I'm having such a laugh. I mean, I don't even need to. They are feminist comedies. Some of them are really risque, X-rated, but it's just me. My husband is downstairs with the kids. I'm just watching. I'm laughing my head off. So if you can find things that give you real joy,
Yes,
um,
yes, yes, yes,
and
yes,
do those things,
yes.
preferably if it doesn't involve food, because I love my food a bit too much, or alcohol.
But you know what I've been doing every night, which I've never done, is I'm pouring myself a drink every single night. I'd never drink alcohol, like at the weekends possibly, but again, we are living in different times. The same rules do not apply as what they did 4 weeks ago. So it's all about, we are in survival mode, and do it in the best way that you possibly can. And I think, as you said, investing in joy is the biggest gift you can give to yourself.
Yeah. And there's one last question now from, I think it's Kodo Po. I can't pronounce your name. Sorry. It's about eating sugar. And
Oh
the
yeah,
amount of sugar she's consuming now
yeah.
is abnormal. And so how can she control that a bit more?
I think tune into, because it's a mental game, isn't it? Tune into how you feel when you eat the sugar, what's happening to your body physically. Are you having a drop in energy? How do you feel about it? Like, you put the question on here, so I'm going to assume you're not feeling good about it.
Yeah.
And going back to what we were talking about before, it's focusing on what it is you want for yourself. So if you want to feel energized, you want to feel good, you want to feel good about the choices that you're making around food, then that will inform you so much better about what you want to be putting in your body. I'm also eating loads of sugar, by the way. What you want to be putting in your body. And again, just make kind, loving choices for yourself. And if sometimes at 3 o'clock, a kind, loving choice might be a chocolate biscuit, but it also might just be a glass of water and an apple. Like, just say, what is the kindest choice I can make for my body right now?
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And that question, that quick check-in, like, is this chocolate biscuit the kindest choice I can make for myself right now? Probably not. But it's very
Thank you
informative.
so much.
You're
So
welcome.
thank you everyone for joining us. Nicole, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm so glad
Thank you.
we connected. I think we should do a longer webinar if you have the opportunity to do that.
I'd love to. I would love to.
I would love that as well. And if you want to follow Nicole, I think her handle is in the copy on our Instagram page, which is Nicole Goodman Coach. I think there's an underscore somewhere, but you find
At
her.
Nicole Goodman _coach. That's the one.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you're not following Forward Ladies already, you should. And you should tag your friends and colleagues in to follow us as well. Next, we have Dr. Helen Lawal coming up doing a session on pregnancy during the COVID and having a newborn baby. So she just had a baby as well, and she's stuck at home. So I think if you know anyone who has a baby or is expecting, that'll be a good one for them to join us on. But thank you all so much. It's challenging times. It's difficult for everyone, and we're all doing the best we can, and that is absolutely just all we need to do right now. We don't need to do anymore.
No. No.
So this will be, I think, archived on our page as well, so you should be able to access it later on. So thank you all so much, and thank you, Nicole, for sharing.
Pleasure.
And I will go and take care of myself and heal, and I'll be back next week. Take care. Bye.